I am not the best UI designer I know, I am not the best interaction designer I know, and I'm definitely not the best UX researcher I know, yet I do all of these things in my day job and somehow I have a UX design career. Why is that? I think the answer comes from Scott Adams, who is the creator of Dilbert Comics. Ha! That's funny. And he was recently being interviewed in the last few years by Timothy Ferris, and Timothy Ferris asked him a question regarding how he became successful. And what Scott Adams said literally changed how I looked at my career. He said, you do not need to be great at one thing to become successful. You can be decent at 2-3 different things and you can learn to combine them in a unique way. Scott Adams was not the best drawer he knew, and he was not the most funniest person he knew. He was not a stand-up comic, but he knew how to draw cartoons and he knew how to tell jokes, and then he created Dilbert Comics. Now what we can take from this is UX design is not a career where you do a singular task, activity or skill day in, day out. It has multiple sub skills and you basically have to find out what you are going to be very good at and focus on those 2-3 skills. For me, I was very good at UX research, because especially qualitative research, because I was a really people's person. I had a software engineering background, so I could really communicate with developers. And also I was very good at managing my own time, because I actually worked on a lot of side projects on my time where I learned how to finish stuff. And it was very important for me to also not only know these skills, but know which companies actually need these skills the most. Because it is not simply enough to know your skills, because a company you apply to might not need them. You might be the greatest, let's say, UX designer. If, let's say, a Fortune 500 company is looking for UI design skills only, that specific role, and you are not that good, you won't get an interview. And that is what I found as well. I reached and searched and asked people where and what kind of companies I could work at, and they all told me roughly small companies like agencies or startups I would work very well with. In those jobs you are wearing multiple hats and you have to communicate with different departments day in, day out. So those are the types of companies where I had an unfair advantage. Now it is very crucial for you to do this exercise as well. What kind of companies that you would work very well at. And you might bring industry experience as well. If you're a UX researcher, let's say, but in a previous life you were working as a, let's say, medical professional, you might do very well in medical startups or medical companies, because chances are you have been the user that company is targeting beforehand, and that gives you leverage. So once you understand what kind of companies that might really actually want you in their teams, it is a good idea, I found, to actually position yourself for those companies. For me, I had to update my, let's say, portfolio homepage where I would mention in a past life I was a software engineer, or in my resume I would actually show that I did software development internships. While many designers actually go the route of, if they are changing careers, to remove their, let's say, previous experiences, I did not. Because the companies I targeted really cared if I could actually speak the devs lingo. Finally, it might be very good to actually have somebody review that you trust, that would give you feedback if these are kind of your unfair advantages. It is very important to not be biased at this process, because I could have told myself I'm very good at UI design, but at the time I wasn't. Thanks for watching this video, guys. If you understand you don't need to be the best UX designer, but you still want to improve your skills in 2023, watch this video next.